As I said just now, I am not unfamiliar in Mandarin. I'm not unfamiliar with China. I've been here many times. This is my first visit as Prime Minister, and it builds on the strong foundations that have been laid by my predecessors. So there will be continuity because the strategic direction has been set clearly. We have upgraded our partnership in 2023 to an all-round high-quality, future-oriented partnership. We have many platforms for cooperation. We may have marked the milestones for these projects. It seems like they have been done many years ago, 30th anniversary for Suzhou, 15th anniversary for Tianjin, and so on. But in fact, the projects are not completed because these are really platforms for cooperation. And in each of these G2G projects, we are continuing to evolve new ideas, new ways of advancing our cooperation. For example, in areas like the digital technologies, clean and renewable energy, or the sustainable economy, and even in modern services. So the scope for cooperation is large, and we will, in this trip, in my meetings with Chinese leaders, particularly President Xi and Premier Li, there is a shared commitment from all sides to advance our cooperation, to build on the strong foundations that have been laid, and take our relationship to greater heights. One new area which I think has some potential is for China and Singapore to cooperate in a third country. We've been discussing this for some time. For example, the Suzhou Industrial Project has been in China for 30 years. It's very successful. Within China itself, it's advanced to new areas like biomedical sciences and digital technologies. But there is potential for Suzhou to be done in a third country. And in this trip, we've agreed with China to embark on third country training programs for ASEAN countries, including Timor-Leste, which will be joining ASEAN soon. And this is yet another way where China and Singapore can come together, jointly develop courses for the region, and help build up the capabilities of our fellow ASEAN member states. So besides working together bilaterally in China or Singapore itself, the potential for us to work together in a third country in Asia or even beyond Asia, I think is a new area for cooperation. It's an evolving situation. It's in a state of flux. No one really knows what will happen next. But I think it's good that China and America did have good conversations recently, and they have at least helped to bring down the temperature around the trade dispute and conflict and found a way to move forward. What will be the next steps? No one really knows. But we hope that there will continue to be dialogue, constructive engagements, and both sides can find a way forward. Certainly for us, Singapore and ASEAN member states, we too have been engaging America. The dialogues and the engagements have been continuing, and we certainly hope that in due course, when America announces the reciprocal tariffs on other countries, the tariffs on ASEAN countries will come down, at least hopefully closer to 10%, if not 10%. And I think that would be a big help for many ASEAN countries. But remember, even at 10%, that tariff rate is still 3 times higher than what the tariff used to be. So we have to be realistic. We are going to be in a world where barriers are higher, and we will have to find ways to navigate around this new environment. The question was also about how China will navigate or respond to this new environment. And I just make a more general point. In this sort of current landscape of geopolitical contest and rivalry, there has been more and more attempts by countries to weaponize economic interdependencies and identify potential choke points as leverage, all in the name of security and resilience. But sometimes, the more one country does this, the more others, it incentivizes others to find alternative solutions and sources. And there will always be alternatives, be it high-end semiconductor chips or rare earth materials. there will always be alternatives. So what may appear to be leverage today may very well disappear, or the leverage will be minimized down the road. And I think this dynamic is playing out even today. So whatever the restrictions or controls may be imposed on China, I'm quite sure China will find a way, navigate its way around them. China will redouble its efforts, as it is already doing, to develop its own indigenous technology, strengthen its R&D base, which is happening, and emerge more resilient from this process, and we see that happening. A few years ago, there was discussion and debate about the property market challenges that China faced. I think now, today, the situation is much improved. Not completely over, but certainly in a more stable position. Economy is continuing to do well, and you can see deliberate efforts to raise and boost consumption as well to rebalance the economy. And if you look at China's economy, you have to remember there's still a very large proportion of the workforce that's still in the rural and agriculture sector, which means there is still tremendous opportunities ahead for them to urbanize, modernize, and lift up hundreds and millions of people in their population. So I think over the longer term, there are still many opportunities for China to develop and grow and proceed along in its modernization journey. That's a very good point. We want to be friends with everyone. We want to have good relations with all countries. But having good relations is not just a matter of being friendly, saying polite words, handshake and hugs, and then, at a very superficial level, maintaining that kind of a friendly relations. Of course, having good rapport is important. But at the end of the day, having good relations means building on substance. It means Singapore, as you say, must have relevance, and we must be able to offer something on the table to our partners. And then, working with them, we can identify areas of shared interest to collaborate on. And so what it means is Singapore, we ourselves will have to continually find ways to stay relevant, to stay competitive, to offer value to our partners in all the different aspects and all the different dimensions, the economy as a society, to keep Singapore exceptional so that other countries are keen to gain something from us or to learn something from us or to have exchanges with us. And when we are able to do that, we can cooperate or we can engage all the different countries, identify areas of shared interest, and deepen our collaboration with all of them. That's how we maintain good relations with everyone. Another way we can offer something of value and add relevance to the table or to our partners is to be an effective interlocutor. Because Singapore today, unlike Singapore when we started out, we have a solid reputation as a trusted, reliable, principled partner. And we are seen as an honest broker. People trust us to facilitate conversations, even amongst parties who may not always have the same views. So we can help facilitate these conversations and dialogues. We can help bring people together and strengthen partnerships. And this is more important today in a world where there are growing tensions, in a world that's facing pressures to become more separated. So if we are able to do that effectively, and we are continuing to do so, then we can add to the conversations, we can facilitate regional as well as global efforts to strengthen multilateralism and find ways to forge a good path ahead, not just for ourselves or the region, but even for the world.
PM, can I squeeze in a quick question about the trust and rapport that you said you wanted to work to build with the Chinese leaders? How were the vibes in your interaction with the Chinese leaders?
They were very good. I mean, I've met them before, particularly Premier Li Qiang, on more occasions, with President Xi only once before as PM. But in both my meetings with both President Xi and Premier Li Qiang, I think we had very good conversations. And we were able to discuss not only our bilateral issues and bilateral areas of cooperation, which is to be expected, but also wider regional and global developments and exchange views on these matters quite candidly and openly. So these are conversations which I think are valuable for us, and I hope to continue them when I next meet with both Premier Lee and President Xi, whom I've also invited to visit Singapore at some point of their convenience.